Intel wants to fight ARM?
Let's do it.
At Computex, Intel gave a deeper look into its upcoming Lunar Lake architecture. The company is claiming improvement across the board, though with heavy emphasis on efficiency and battery life. A 38% to 68% increase in instructions per clock for E-cores compared to a 14% increase for P-cores. Intel is also claiming a 50% performance gain for its integrated graphics, which will be using a low-powered variant of Intel's Xe2 Battlemage.
Yeah, Battlemage. Battlemage just kind of snuck up on me here. I don't know why, but I was kind of expecting it to come as a discrete GPU first, and then here it is, boom, onboard graphics, Battlemage is here, let's go. I heard some folks got hands-on with it at some point, maybe somewhere, and it was running pretty good.
Because this is pretty abnormal. Usually you'd have the discrete GPU launch first. I wonder if this will help drivers, though.
I hope so.
Help drivers for the discrete GPU people.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Where like, because Intel is shipping apparently a negligible number of discrete ARC GPUs according to the latest market share trends, which have NVIDIA at almost 90% now.
Oof.
Wild, hey? But Intel is apparently negligible, and so when you're shipping a negligible number of boards, I imagine that the incentive to prioritize development of it, even though to Intel's credit, they have really chipped away at Arc Alchemist and tried to make it as working as it could be. But when you're shipping not that many compared to when all of a sudden this product that is like a do or die product for you, Lunar Lake, is going up against not just AMD, but now Qualcomm Snapdragon X. Full disclosure, by the way, guys, not that it actually matters for WAN Show. We'll be saying whatever we damn well please. But Qualcomm did sponsor a video on Snapdragon X while we were here, which is part of why we were able to poke and prod at it a lot.
That's cool.
Man, I love it.
It's very interesting.
I love it when we get a sponsorship that comes with like extra access to the product
anyways,
and almost no strings attached.
Yeah.
When we went through the script, they were like, can we change that word? And I changed it. I did my trick. I changed it to something worse.
Oh, never mind.
And they were like, never mind. They changed like one word, and then like, Andy, we shot like a pickup. Yeah, we shot a pickup because we actually made too strong of a statement about the competition.
Oh.
And they were like,
they wanted it to be pulled back.
They wanted it to be dialed back.
Interesting.
So
Spicy.
Is
this out already?
No, it's not. It's not out yet.
Right.
But anyway, Intel. This is a do or die product for Intel, right? Where they're going to be going up not just against AMD, who has been kicking their butt a little, right? Because I mean, AMD had their first generation that was super competitive. That would have been Mobile 3000, 4000. I forget. I can't keep track. Now that the Zen generation doesn't line up with the product generation, and the mobile and the desktop generations don't line up either, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But the point is, they had one that was really competitive, and it was in like a handful of devices that functionally weren't even really available. Is that 5,000? Doesn't matter. The point is, they were competitive on paper, but they didn't exist, right? And then over the last couple of generations, they exist, and they're in some really good designs now. Like I'm holding an AMD laptop that I freaking love. This is framework disclosure, I guess. This is the Flow X13 from Asus. I flipping love this thing. It's got an 8-core Ryzen 7000 series processor. It's got an RTX 4070 in it, albeit a lower TDP one, obviously.
Yeah, it's real thin, real small.
Yeah, I mean, it gets hot enough to... Yeah, she's cooking, right? Because we're using RTX broadcast for noise cancellation, and
it's not like the ambient is low here.
And I think, I also have my capture card running, so I've got video capture running through it. Absolutely freaking love this machine, but AMD doesn't have the kind of like fab capacity to ship enough laptop chips that Intel has to really worry about, just outright losing.
Mm-hmm.
Qualcomm, on the other hand,
mucho fab capabilities.
Dude, I can't believe how many design wins these chips are in. Like when you compare this to AMD's first generation of competitive CPUs, where it was like you could tell from the designs that like the vendors didn't want to make Intel too mad. You know, not because there's a backroom deal necessarily, not because Intel is, back to their tricks of, paying people to not use AMD necessarily. I mean, who knows? Something could emerge, 5 years from now or whatever. I don't know either way. But what I'm saying is that's not the vibe I got. The vibe that I got was, yeah, the AMD chip is in the slightly more worser one because realistically they know they can't get enough allocation to switch over a significant volume to this thing.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of putting it in some niche devices, knowing that that's all they can ship anyway. And the bulk of this generation is going to be Intel. Like you can tell when that happens, right? It ain't happening.
Oh boy.
Dude, these Qualcomm designs are sick. And I don't mean that Qualcomm designed them, sorry. I mean like the Dell XPS with Qualcomm Snapdragon in it.
Like the laptop itself?
Sick. Yeah, it's sick. The Surface, the new Surface. It's sick.
Do you think this is a
Dude,
decent
the
amount
camera.
of pressure from Microsoft?
Dude, the camera in the Surface. It's sick. Honestly, in our video, I don't think we have the most favorable demo of how much better the camera quality can be. It's like a little better.
Are you on the floor or something?
Yeah, but we're in like a demo room and the lighting really sucks.
Yeah.
To the point where kind of anything looks bad. But under slightly better lighting conditions when we were in the meeting room before.
That's interesting because laptop webcams are kind of notoriously terrible.
Yeah, so we go through this in the video because very few people are talking about the camera image quality benefit of Snapdragon, Windows on Snapdragon. Everyone's talking about, Qualcomm's talking points, right? Which is performance, AI, and battery life.
So this is like compute-enhanced video?
Well, no. What it is that almost all laptop webcams have the ISP on the webcam. But on Snapdragon, the ISP is on die. And it's linked using I forget what the link is, but instead of using USB, it uses the same interface as your smartphone.
Oh man.
So they have plug and play compatibility for the same camera modules
that's actually wild.
from the smartphone industry.
Yeah.
And they have all those years of experience building ISPs.
So much more work goes into that. Like
for smartphones.
Disgustingly more work goes into that.
Dude. The new Surface's webcam, you can just throw away your add-on webcam. Just huck it.
That's
because
nice.
Because it's built in.
Because it's pretty annoying using that.
Very cool. Like, dude, I'm pretty stoked.
I've heard genuine rumor. I don't know if there's articles about this, whatever. This is word of mouth rumor that a decent amount of this pressure to make the laptops really sick for this generation of laptops is from Microsoft.
Really? Oh, that makes sense. I think that they've been. It's funny because
again, total rumor. I don't know.
I was looking at the market share that Apple has gained since the launch of Apple Silicon, and it's not as much. At least according to the source that I was looking at, it's quite possible that a company like Microsoft,
I've heard the same thing,
who's going to be paying a lot of money per year to, for market research or whatever, it's possible they have numbers that I don't. But from what I can tell, it hasn't really made a meaningful difference. And that actually kind of jives with Apple's behavior, where it's like, yeah, I don't know, we'll do an update to this one, I guess. M4, I don't know. Yeah, we'll put it in a MacBook at some point. iPad, right? It kind of jives with Apple's behavior. Whereas, like, man, when M1 came out, M2 refresh, they were like, we're on a cadence. Like, we're going. Here come all the models. We got the studio. We got the big one.
But they're not converting more users.
Yeah, but if they're not converting more users, it's like Apple just goes through this cycle where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do Mac again. We're gonna like kill it. We're focused on Mac again. Yeah, sorry, we forgot.
Never mind.
Right, like they did it with the trash can. They did it with the first generation cheese grater or the new generation cheese grater on Intel. They did it with the studio. Like Mac Studio, is that still M2? Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Mac Studio is still M2 family.
That's Apple
What?
stuff, man. I've been trying to figure this out. I suspect it's because of whatever it's called, Replay.
Oh, yeah.
It's the
Recall.
whole Copilot Plus
Yeah.
PCs thing. I think that's why they're pushing for it.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's less to do with Apple's threat and it's more to do with just, good Lord, give people a reason to upgrade their damn computers.
Yeah.
I could see that. Anyway, coming back to the fight that Intel's in with Lunar Lake, they cannot afford for these Battlemage drivers to suck. And that gives me a lot of hope, actually,
For the
Battlemage discrete cards.
Totally.
Now, I'm not expecting them to be competing with a 5090 or whatever. I don't think that's realistic. But what I
mid to low range cards, though.
what I am hoping to expect is a real competitor for the 5060.
100%.
Because I am just sick of Nvidia being like, yeah, I don't know, we'll just have the most basicest thing that would have been a 50 class card a generation or two ago. And we're going to call it a 60 class card. It's going to be up to, what is the 4060 max out at for the TI? Like $500 or $600 or something like that? What's a 4060 Ti worth? I think the price has actually come down a little bit. Oh my god. Why is it so hard to just find a thing? It's $400 for an 8 gig 4060 Ti. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's lame.
So if I can get something Arc Battlemage with a decent frame buffer with good drivers, I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah, me too.
I
don't know if I'm 100% confident it's going to be Battlemage or if it might be the one after.
Celestial.
Yeah. But I hope it's Battlemage.
Anyway, moving on, Intel Lunar Lake. So this is crazy too. So we talked a little bit about how much performance gain they're expecting, both on CPU and GPU, to try and take the fight to both AMD and especially Qualcomm this gen. And you got to kind of wonder how much of that is because this is the first generation, because the first generation of these Lunar Lake chips are going to be primarily manufactured by TSMC. Intel says they made this decision because TSMC's fabrication processes were simply more advanced at the time they were designing the chip. What a slice of humble pie.
That's pretty wild.
The fact that...
That's not something Intel would normally say.
No.
True or not.
Like, I've said this before. Intel stock has gone down quite a lot since I said that if I was buying, I would be buying long Intel.
Yeah.
This actually doesn't change what I said. Because that kind of attitude...
Not investment advice.
Not investment advice, and I haven't bought any because I don't allow myself to just like trade tech stocks like that. I do own some stake in Framework laptops, as you guys know from the series of videos that we've done on it. And I do have a small investment in a it's hard to even call them a startup. They're very small. In a startup that is trying to work on a NAS operating system that makes things simpler. But that's it. I don't let myself just kind of play the market. But I like this humility.
Yeah.
I like this willingness to make the best product, even if it's not all real men have fabs. Like Jerry Sanders. That's a quote. Okay, that's like a toxic masculinity quote from Jerry Sanders III, who I believe was AMD's founder. Second or third? Jerry Sanders. Yeah. He's the third Jerry Sanders. There you go.
I really hope he's related to the Colonel somehow.
Thanks for that, Luke.
Stranger things have happened.
Good contribution. Anyway, they went with a rival foundry rather than compromise on the design of the chip. But next year's Panther Lake will be largely fabricated by Intel's own foundry. They've been trying to kind of say, okay, forget it. Let's just, instead of going incrementally, we're going to try to leapfrog. And on stage, they did show off their 1.8A process. They showed off, I think it was either a wafer or a die, I can't remember, but they were showing something on stage saying they have power on it. So, who knows? Maybe Panther Lake's going to be good.
Things are starting to move fast.
Meanwhile, at AMD, they have confirmed their stupid AI 300 series naming scheme for the new mobile chips, which are Zen 5, which is not stupid. The fact that we're getting Zen 5 like right away here on both mobile and desktop means that AMD is also probably getting a lot more fab capacity right now. Because they also announced Zen 5 EPYC chips, so they must have booked some wafers. They are claiming a 30% performance advantage over Intel's current gen flagship chip, though they did not include frame rates or percentile frame data. Unlike Intel, AMD will be retaining SMT or their version of hyper-threading and seem to be aiming for pure performance rather than efficiency. Now, that's something I've seen a lot. Like, I've seen people talk about that a lot, but I guess my counter to that is AMD already had the efficiency pretty good compared to Intel. So if I was them talking about my next generation chips, maybe less of my messaging would be about efficiency, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm expecting Ryzen AI 300 series to be inefficient. I mean, I think anything's going to look kind of bad compared to Snapdragon X. Okay, so in the video, spoiler, Alex holds up 2 HP laptops. His HP Elite Dragonfly, or whatever it's called, his Dragonfly daily driver that he chose because of its outstanding battery life. Like, it's one of the best Windows laptops for battery life. And HP's Snapdragon X design. According to HP's own ratings, which Alex has found to be pretty honest in the past, it was something like a 10-hour difference? It was like 8 to 10 hours difference.
This is another reason why I feel like Microsoft might be pushing.
No. I'm not done yet.
Okay.
And the Snapdragon one had, I think, a 15% smaller physical battery. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
it's like this has been the fairly notorious thing that gets thrown at Windows laptops, is that their battery life is atrocious compared to Macs.
Yep.
So if like this is another one of the solutions to those things, like, yeah, there isn't a huge amount of market share for Microsoft to claim back from Apple, but they might be tired of being like the butt of jokes when it comes to laptops.
Yep.
Like, Windows laptops are just considered basically inferior.
They should fix Windows Modern Standby then.
That'd be nice.
Just an idea, Microsoft.
Kinda cool.
While you're at this push, which I totally support, I'm super down to have better battery life, right? Like,
I wonder if it'll be better on different chips. It could be.
I don't know. I mean, I hope so, because realistically, I'm not going to be switching to a Mac anytime soon. So no. I am fully in support of Windows laptops getting better. Now, I want to make this really clear, guys. The performance embargo for independent testing is not lifted. Yeah. So these battery life claims, I mean, they could be nonsense. I think that I doubt it. You know, like
Alex is saying that the claims that they make are decently, consistently accurate-ish.
Yep. That's on the HP side, right?
And
you've got all these partners that are staking their reputations
on similar claims.
Yeah. You've got, and what I'll say is that the vibe from Qualcomm,
there's
very confident.
That's an interesting. It's always kind of a tell. You mentioned that they sponsored, and that they were very not controlling of the messaging.
Yes.
That combination is almost always like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Because when they sponsor and they're like, we need to control everything you say, and then we don't work with that partner because that doesn't work. But when that situation happens, it's almost always because they like don't have anything.
Yeah. Whereas when they're like, yeah, we just want everybody to know.
Say whatever you want.
Just literally their points they gave me
it's such a power move.
Can you talk about performance? Can you talk about the NPU? So like the on-chip AI, Copilot, obviously, and battery life. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, how could I possibly
Those are the things that we would talk about.
How could I possibly talk about this product without talking about those things anyway?
Yeah.
And dude, the demo room was crazy because they have like DaVinci Resolve running in there. No, but like they've got Baldur's Gate 3 running in there.
Oh damn.
They've got like They had that used to be owned by Sony. It's now owned by someone
It's
else.
decently common that
Video
these
editing
demos
suite.
will softball the applications that are running.
Yeah.
Which is why he's pointing this out.
Well, and because it's not x86.
Yeah.
Like this is Windows on ARM.
Things that were not made for this.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Larian like made a version of the game for Snapdragon chips.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dude. Also, they were absolute characters. I have no screen share right now, so you guys are going to have to wait to experience this. But I did a bit where I walk into the meeting, and here I'll try and kind of narrate along. When I walked into my briefing on Snapdragon processors with Qualcomm, I did what I always do and plugged in my laptop. And then we have them like
that's actually pretty funny.
Mock me for plugging in my laptop, and then they coax me back into the meeting room with a Snapdragon laptop and a sponsorship.
That's pretty good.
So they were absolute like totally fun. Had a lot of fun working with them. We've actually, I think, attempted to work with Qualcomm once.
Ooh, sorry. Someone just pointed out Baldur's Gate 3 is already available on Mac OS, so it's ARM.
Oh, okay.
Armored.
That's good to know.
But I do believe there's like compatibility layers for tons of different games and stuff.
Yes.
Not everything, but a lot of things.
And they had what's it called? Sony used to own it. That video editing suite.
Thank you, Imperial.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas. They had Vegas running. Man, they had so much stuff running.
Premiere doesn't work. Is that correct?
I would be very surprised if Premiere barely works on Windows x86. No, seriously. You know that our away teams bring Macs.
Whoa.
They don't bring Windows laptops anymore.
Whoa.
Because Premiere is so much more stable on Mac, which I don't think is anything to do with ARM. I think it's just to do with just Windows versus Mac OS.
That's wild.
Yeah, sorry.
An interesting thing too, you had a narrative here of people trying to push for more fab capacity.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is somewhat always of a thing, but it's been more of a conversation lately. A huge amount of conversation, both on the floor for the limited time that I was there, and off the floor with a variety of people at the show, has been data centers, building new data centers, increasing how much you're harnessing current data centers trying to get out low-level clients because there's high-level clients offering 3 times the rate on things.
Man.
Like,
Do you remember?
It's crazy.
Do you remember that data center zone property that I showed you like 5 years ago? And I was
Oh, dude,
and I was like, LOL,
Yeah.
you should like do float plane data center.
you would have been balling. Well,
Oh well. And it was really small. Like the overhead of running a tiny data center, I think, would be super weird because, like,
as far as my understanding goes, scale is pretty helpful.
yeah,
Yeah,
because you're gonna have to have the security
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have the administrative staff anyway. You can't just have like a few thousand square foot data center. But yeah, no dice. Oh yeah, and back then, like when even was that? That was during the like 2017 crypto boom. Yeah, 100%. Someone's like, it would have been crypto. Don't lie. No, 100%. The tenants would have been mining. 100%. But I was also, when I was talking to Luke about it, I mean, we had already been kicking around LMG VPN.
Oh, yeah.
We already had float plane going. So it was one of those things where, like, kind of like we do, we'd be spinning up a thing to be our own biggest customer. And I don't know, might have worked out, but realistically, I don't think that cash would have been that well invested there compared to some of the other things we did, just like growing LMG and all of that stuff.
A lot of people are posting a lot of things about the data center stuff. Someone mentioned data centers use a lot of power. Yeah. That's going to be a huge problem. If you've paid attention to some of the announcements that happened at this show, wattage per like device in a data center is erupting.
Dude, the new Blackwell GPU.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just talking the one GPU, which is two B100 dies. Okay, so a B200 GPU is two B100 dies, and oh god, I think is it 12 HBM stacks or 8 HBM stacks? I forget. Two B100 dies and some HBM stacks. NVIDIA is calling that one GPU. So they're doing multi die GPU, kind of like we saw on Apple's Ultra SKUs. I hope that it works a little better than it does on Apple's Ultra SKUs. I don't know if you remember this, but we did a video on Apple's tools to help developers port their games over to macOS, and performance sucked. And a lot of the Apple community was extremely angry at us for testing on Ultra because it has problems. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought I was putting Apple in the best position possible. And also, if you're mad about this, be mad at Apple, not at me. Yeah. I didn't make their interconnect between their two like core designs, their two maxes. I didn't make that. I didn't make it not work properly. Anyway, hopefully NVIDIA's interconnect works a little better than Apple's. But this B200 should present as a single GPU. But I'm not done yet. A B200 is 1,000 watts. One B200. But I'm not done yet. Okay? Because a B200 is part of a Grace Blackwell super chip that operates as a single like chip or whatever, where you've got two B200 GPUs and then a Grace CPU on it. Okay, and that
like some amount of resentment in the like whatever,
and that is 2,700 watts.
Oh yeah,
because we got two Blackwells and a Grace. Okay, but I'm not done yet because each compute node contains two super chips in a 1U. I think Jake was saying something about how some of the partner designs are going to be an ever so slightly thicker 1U in order to get all the cooling in there. Like they're water cooled, but like I think they're creating like a 1U plus or something. Don't quote me on that, but Jake was talking to me about it. He's usually pretty credible about that sort of thing. But essentially a 1U. What does that work out to? Math.
Honestly, I forgot.
5,400 watts.
Wattage density in data centers is going to explode. Apparently, it's an issue where like some, fairly established companies that run big data are basically tapped for how much power they can get into their data centers. So that's another thing with the whole data center game right now is like new data centers are coming up in places where they can harness just absurd amounts of power.
And Microsoft's going to end up way ahead of the game with their like underwater data centers.
Yeah,
we're just going to have like a tidal data center. Okay,
tidal powered.
Like no, but the whole thing. So the whole data center's under the water for cooling.
Yeah,
and then like basically the tide comes in, and then like the wall of the data center comes up, and it's like a temporary dam, and then it just runs the seawater back through the thing for cooling and power, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
we got this.
Yeah,
like they're gonna take up like the entire coast of freaking like Alaska with data centers or something. Like for real though, like no, but also they're gonna have to do something.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. So here, someone did the math in Flowplane chat. This is crazy. 6,000 watts in a U of rack space would be over 250,000 watts per rack. It would melt.
We're starting to talk numbers that are just
like absolutely stupid numbers.
Yeah.
Like
multiply that by a data center.
My tiny data center in White Rock or whatever, it could have had one rack of Grace Blackwells in it in an empty room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think we could have gotten that much power in there.
Oh yeah, I doubt it.
Like here,
I doubt it.
How much? Do you know how much power we have?
Data center locations right now, as far as my understanding, are being chosen by proximity to nuclear power plants. Specifically nuclear power plants.
That is hilarious.
And there's conversations going on about like being concerned that some nations aren't going to be building additional nuclear power plants fast enough to power all the data centers that are going to be cropping up.
So
that's an actual conversation.
Our power to the lab, which is a 20,000 square foot industrial building that was formerly used by
steel fabrication or something.
Yeah, some kind of steel fabricator.
Something, yeah.
Has about 200,000 watts coming into it.
And that was like a lot.
That's industrial, you know?
Yeah.
So I could power not even an entire rack of Grace Blackwells. So it would just be an entirely empty shell. Imagine the lab.
with one super dystopian is just like in the middle of the whole thing.
One cabinet.
All these cables running.
Sitting in the middle of it. That's it.
That'd be wild.
Hilarious. Just like venting all the heat out the roof or something like that. Like you could sit over it and like cook your food. It's crazy, dude. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, data centers and power are going to be a huge thing. And if you are someone who is sad about the general power usage that we have going on right now, it's definitely not getting better.
With that said,
AJ just said that the badminton center has more power than the lab. I didn't know that.
That actually makes a lot of sense. The badminton center is 40,000 square feet.
Right. Okay.
It's two 20,000 square foot units, so it probably has considerably more power than the lab. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Badminton data center. Here we go.
That we use not for logical things, but for analyzing gameplay.
Dude, I saw some demos at NVIDIA that probably skewed the entire attitude of my coverage toward them this year.
Oh.
Okay. Because like I know a lot of
didn't go there at all.
I know a lot of gamers are super mad at NVIDIA right now, and like rightly so.
Yeah.
Because NVIDIA's apathy towards gamers has been apparent for quite some time.
I don't care at all. They didn't mention the keynote at all,
but
did they?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
But dude, they had one of their Jetson like edge computing devices. It's like a new generation Jetson thing, and they had it running this like stereo camera capture majig, and on this data set that was trained on Blackwell or whatever. And basically, the demo was real-time wireframing.
So like the stuff that we want to do.
Exactly what I want to do at the badminton center for like
it's pretty useful
stroke and movement analysis and stuff. Like so one of the dreams that I have is every court having basically that, except trained on a data set of badminton play, so that you could like gamify your game, your gameplay. So it could tell you like, oh, against this opponent, you hit a lot of smashes, but their smash defense was actually really good, and you scored most of your winners with your drop shot. You did a drop shot 15% of the time. Maybe try doing it slightly more often. Like,
that's
dude, so cool. And okay, they had some really cool gaming demos running too. And so like nothing I said was not true, but when I walked in the door,
a little hyped up,
and I saw it, I was I was a little excited. I was a little excited. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I even think things like, this might not be as interesting to you, but I think it would be pretty cool, is like endurance evaluation. Like having it notice like, oh, okay, once you're like 15 minutes into a game, your form on like this movement starts to falter.
Yeah.
Like that's really interesting.
Dude, you could use it for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm gonna need a small loan of $1 million for, some Grace Blackwell.
Yeah, but that's like, if you end up waiting, a little longer, and then it becomes the old tech, then it'll be a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, maybe. And I might have put, I think about 10,000 watts of cooling and power into the data room at the badminton center, just in case.
We'll get her done.
Just in case. And like, realistically, like you wouldn't have to do the training on site. Like you would probably lease time to do that anyway. Like I don't think you would, at the scale we'd be operating at, I don't think we would be doing our own data set training anyhow. So as long as we have enough edge computing, should be fine.
Yeah, we had conversations about like it might be wise to wait to do that for a variety of reasons, but the tech not being 100% there was one of them. And I think this just very
The tech's getting pretty there, pretty fast.
but it also like oddly specifically validated that thought. It's like maybe you should wait for it, then it's just like shown to you at a convention. Like I wouldn't have expected to see that at the NVIDIA booth.
Dude, and like it was so good. They had some 3D models rigged, and they were showing like just live movement to rigged 3D model. Like
that's cool.
It's not perfect, obviously, but like it's real time.
There's a lot of stuff you're gonna have to deal with at something like a public badminton center, like
dude,
what happens if like someone else walks on the court? Like weird things that you'd have to deal with for
100%.
like actually running it in production.
But our privacy policy from day one is going to be we're filming the inside of this facility, like it or lump it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're not gonna we take privacy extremely seriously. We're not gonna misuse that data. We're not gonna sell it. But we're absolutely going to use it for the facility.
Would you potentially sell it to users of the facility?
Sell it to the like the gameplay analysis? Yeah, okay, then
because like technically,
but that's not selling the data. That's selling what we derived from it. But we would be monetizing.
What if you let people buy like I don't know replays of their games or something?
Well, that's not the data we're collecting, but that would be like but then you're buying your own replay.
But other people could be in the video.
Yes, this is true.
Even someone walking by the court.
Yeah, so we'll just have to make sure that our privacy policy does account for that.
I think there's got to be a way to make a distinction between. I don't know legal stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like there's got to be some way to make a distinction between like we will be potentially distributing, whether we're selling or not, clips to users of the facility of their own gameplay, and you might end up in it, versus we're going to mass sell everything we have.
Yeah,
there's got to be a way to.
No, I'm sure we can handle that.
Yeah.
And realistically, because of the way the facility is laid out, each court will have its own camera, and you'll be able to see the one behind it, but they'll be pretty far away.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
because it'll be at kind of like a 45 angle.
Isn't there a wall?
No, but you'll see the one next to it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, sorry.